Imagine a plane so massive it could swallow tanks for breakfast, carry helicopters like grocery bags, and still have room left over for snacks. That's not a sci-fi fantasy, it's the Lockheed C-5 Galaxy. And after a set of jaw-dropping upgrades, this airborne behemoth is stronger, faster, and more unstoppable than ever. So what's the deal with the C-5's latest glow-up? Why is every aviation geek drooling over it again? And how did this lumbering sky titan go from a Cold War heavyweight to a 21st century logistics superhero? Buckle up and let's get into it. Born in the 60s, built like a legend. Back in the groovy 1960s, the US military needed a transport plane that didn't just move gear, it needed a flying warehouse that could carry tanks, helicopters, and probably your house, if you asked nicely. The existing Douglas C-133 was getting a bit tired, and the trusty C-141 Star Lifter just wasn't cutting it for bulkier cargo. Enter the CX-4 program in 1962. At first, aircraft designers pitched 6 engine ideas, but soon the military thought, go big or go home. That's when the program leveled up into the CX Heavy Logistics System project, demanding 4 high-thrust engines, a cruise speed of Mach 0.75, and a cavernous cargo bay big enough to house your average suburban dream. The competition was fierce. Boeing, Douglas, and Lockheed all stepped into the ring with big dreams and even bigger blueprints. Each concept had a high cockpit, nose-loading access, and sleek swept wings. Lockheed stood out thanks to a raised T-tail and an iconic egg-shaped fuselage. Yes, the plane is kind of shaped like a giant airborne Easter egg. Don't judge. On the engine side, General Electric rolled out the TF-39 high-bypass turbofan marvel that promised power and fuel efficiency like never before. The Air Force was impressed, and in 1965, Lockheed bagged the contract. GE's TF-39 engine was chosen to power the beast. Meet the beast, the original C-5A Galaxy. The first C-5A Galaxy strutted out of Lockheed's Marietta, Georgia factory in 1968. And when test pilot Leo Sullivan took it for a spin that June, the world collectively raised its eyebrows. This thing wasn't just big, it was ridiculously big. Measuring 247 feet in length with a 222-foot wingspan, the C-5A wasn't a plane. It was a floating football field. The cargo bay alone offered 34,000 cubic feet of space. That's enough to carry tanks, 6 Apache helicopters, or about 24 Humvees without having to take anything apart. And it wasn't just about size. The plane could load cargo from the front and rear simultaneously. It had 28 wheels, could kneel down for easier loading. Yes, it bows like royalty, and could land on short, rough runways in the middle of nowhere. The C-5 didn't care if you had a runway, it just needed a patch of land and a dream. Boeing's silver lining. Hello, jumbo jet. Fun fact, Boeing didn't win the C-5 contract, but it didn't exactly go home crying. Instead, it repurposed its design into the Boeing 747, which debuted in 1970 and revolutionized commercial air travel. So while Lockheed built a flying military warehouse, Boeing gave the world its first flying hotel. Everybody wins except the guy sitting in the middle seat in coach. Breaking records, lifting spirits, and helicopters. From the moment the C-5 entered service, it was setting records like a pop star on tour. It became the first aircraft to carry over 1 million pounds. In 1974, a C-5A delivered 22 pallets of aid to Iran, setting a record for the heaviest airlift at the time. But the real game-changer came with the C-5M Super Galaxy, an upgraded version that smashed 41 world records, including payload and climb performance. It wasn't just carrying more, it was doing it faster and more efficiently. Upgrades that made it super. The original TF-39 engines were brilliant, but had the durability of wet tissue. So the Air Force introduced a major facelift with the C-5M upgrade, slapping on General Electric's CF6 engines, previously seen on commercial icons like the Boeing 747 and DC-10. These bad boys packed 22% more thrust, improved fuel economy, shortened takeoff distance, and extended range by 1,000 nautical miles. They were also cheaper to maintain, unlike the old TF-39s, which were basically aviation divas. The result? A 40% boost in mission readiness and a plane that could haul 120,000 pounds over 7,000 miles without needing a sip of fuel. And if aerial refueling was in play, this flying warehouse could stay up indefinitely like your upstairs neighbor's techno party. From war zones to natural disasters, the galaxy's greatest hits. Since the 1970s, the C-5 has been the Air Force's go-to ride for pretty much everything. In Desert Storm, they hauled tanks, helicopters, and supplies for over 500,000 troops. After 9/11, it flew critical missions in Afghanistan and Iraq. But the C-5 isn't all about guns and glory, it's got a soft side too. After the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, it delivered life-saving aid, mobile hospitals, and relief supplies. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it ferried vaccines, ventilators, and emergency equipment to places in desperate need. In 1981, it even transported a captured Soviet Mi-24 Hind helicopter from Chad to the US for analysis. Basically, if you need to move something massive and sensitive, you call the C-5. Think of it as the world's most powerful Uber XL, flying cathedral or giant grocery truck. To the folks who operate it, the C-5 is more than a plane, it's a lifestyle. Pilots lovingly refer to it as a flying cathedral thanks to its cavernous, almost holy interior. Loadmasters are constantly amazed at how much it can carry: tanks, missiles, endangered animals, priceless artifacts, you name it. When the US president travels, the C-5 often flies ahead with support gear and vehicles. Its bay is so large that, hypothetically, it could have carried the space shuttle. NASA chose a 747 instead, but two C-5s were still converted to carry parts for the International Space Station and Atlas II rockets. Even the galaxy's the limit. Brave in the face of ice, war, and stealth, the C-5 doesn't shy away from a challenge. In 1989, during Operation Deep Freeze, one landed on an ice runway in Antarctica carrying people, cargo, and helicopters. Just another day at the office. And let's not forget its stealthy side. The C-5 discreetly transported America's first stealth aircraft, the F-117, a Nighthawk, to secret test sites like Area 51. It also flew the hush-hush HBL Blue stealth prototype. If planes had clearance levels, the C-5 would be all black ops and no nonsense. Not without tragedy. Of course, no long career comes without a few scars. On August 29, 1990, a C-5A crashed shortly after takeoff in Germany due to a thrust reverser malfunction. 13 of the 17 on board were killed. Staff Sergeant Lorenzo Galvin Jr., one of the survivors, helped save others and received the Airman's Medal for heroism. In 2006, another C-5B crashed near Dover Air Force Base after a mismanaged engine shutdown. Miraculously, all 17 crew members survived. The incident led to improved cockpit design and crew coordination protocols, lessons learned the hard way. The galaxy of the future, so where does this giant fly next? The latest version of the C-5, the C-5N Super Galaxy, comes loaded with F-138 engines offering more thrust, better efficiency, and lower maintenance. The cockpit now boasts digital screens, GPS, laser navigation, and updated pressurization systems for delicate cargo. And let's not forget those dual cargo doors, perfect for rapid deployment in war zones or fast delivery during disasters. Whether it's tanks, helicopters, or humanitarian aid, the C-5 is ready to roll out faster than a TikTok trend. So, what do you think? Has the C-5 earned its legendary wings? Could anything ever replace this flying colossus? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into military aviation's biggest star, smash that like button and subscribe.